Hi, Venters. Welcome back. So I showed you Trainer Joe the other day, and he gave us a diet plan that could help you lose 100 pounds in 6 months, and it was extremely challenging. So I wanted to actually find somebody that kind of went through a similar plan. So today we're going to share Everything Robert. Everything Robert is a YouTube channel where Robert actually tells us how he lost 75 pounds in 6 months. And if in case you're wondering about my voice, I feel like I'm coming down with a cold or something, but nothing's going to stop us. So I'm going to pause my raspy voice right now, and we're going to listen to Everything Robert and how he lost 75 pounds in 6 months eating the same thing every day.
Hi, I'm Robert, and I lost 75 pounds in 6 months eating the same thing every day. I would also walk at least 10,000 steps every day. I have a video on that coming up soon, so be sure to subscribe to check that out. I used to eat out every meal: McDonald's, Jack in the Box, Taco Bell. I even worked at Jack in the Box when I was in high school. If I ate at home, it would just be a frozen pizza. Now I cook all my meals at home using fresh ingredients. I'm going to show you everything that I would eat in a day. The first step I took was to quit drinking soda. I used to only drink Pepsi. I rarely drink water, and I've been doing that for about 20 years. I decided to just quit cold turkey. The first 3 days I had a headache and was craving soda all the time. At the end of the first week, I still had cravings, but they weren't too bad. After 2 weeks, the cravings were pretty minor, if any. And then after a month, I didn't have any cravings at all. So I got started by going to see a nutritionist. It was a lot different experience than I thought. I thought she was going to tell me to eat this, don't eat that, count your calories. She asked me what I like to eat, and I told her. And then she gave me some better options. For example, I like to eat ham sandwiches. She had me eating turkey sandwiches instead. Instead of white bread, eat whole wheat bread. Instead of mayonnaise, which has quite a bit of calories in it, put mustard, which has no calories in it. I was eating at home more, but I was still going out quite a bit to eat. So I decided I was going to make chicken tacos every day. So I got a whole wheat tortilla. I'd make some chicken breast, and I'd grill up some bell pepper, onion, and put in some salsa. And I would eat that every day. At this point, I had another meeting with my nutritionist, and she wanted me to add more things into my veggies to get more fiber. So I was looking at different veggies that I like to put in my veggie mix. So I started adding things here and there. I had my onion and bell pepper. Then I started adding mushroom. I tried that for a little while and enjoyed it. Then I added asparagus, and I started to enjoy that too. So now my veggie mix is looking a little better. Bell pepper, onion, asparagus, mushroom. Now I also added in tomato and spinach. The spinach is really easy to add in. It just kind of wilts down when you're cooking it, so you don't even really notice it. I got tired of eating chicken every day, so I went to Costco and bought a whole bunch of different sausages. I got 100% grass-fed Teton beef sausages. I got andouille sausages, organic chicken sausages, and whatever else they had. So I just chop up all my veggies, throw it in a pot, cook them, and then chop up a sausage and throw it into, and then put it on a taco shell.
So my first impressions are, excuse me, I was looking at the wrong camera. My first impressions are that this meal itself looks really delicious. And even though he ate the same thing, I think he kind of ate the same thing, but he still did jumble it up, right? Chicken one day, sausages the next. So he had a little variety to go with it. I also love how he baby stepped the ingredients, right? At first it's onions and peppers, and then all of a sudden there's some Roma tomatoes and a little asparagus, right? So he's adding to his repertoire different food senses for the tongue to enjoy, right? Different tastes. I love it. The most important thing that he did, I think, right off the bat, was he made it a goal to get off of the soda. And like he said, if you're going to be getting off the soda yourself, just know for the first couple days you might get a headache or two, but after a couple of weeks, it'll be out of your system and you won't crave it nearly as much. Very interesting. Love this video.
I was still watching a whole bunch of YouTube videos about nutrition, and I went down the low-carb rabbit hole. So I ended up removing the tortilla from my meal, and I would just eat all of my veggies and sausage in a bowl. At first, I really missed the tortilla because I've always ate so much bread. I used to just eat tons and tons of bread, so it was kind of a shock to not have that in my life anymore, but I got over it, and now I have no problem just eating a whole bowl of veggies with a couple pieces of sausage in it. I was also getting hungry around this time, so I stopped doing one meal a day and I went to a 16-8 intermittent fasting schedule. So I would not eat for 16 hours, and then I would have an 8-hour eating window. I'd start my day at 2 p.m. after I skipped breakfast, and at 2 p.m. I would have a yogurt with a scoop of vital proteins, collagen peptides. I started out with eating a Chobani less sugar yogurt. It only has 5 grams of sugar versus 9 grams of sugar in a regular Chobani. After a while, I kept trying to decrease my sugar intake, so I switched from the less sugar Chobani to the no sugar Chobani.
So one of the things that I really love about Robert's plan is he started obviously on the 1 meal a day plan, right? But he was getting hungry. So instead of just quitting and tossing his hands in the air and going back to his old ways, he decided to implement the fasting window, right? So he has 16 hours a day where he's not really eating. And then he gives himself an 8-hour window where he does eat. And he also lets us know that, hey, I've always loved yogurt. I'm not giving up my yogurt, but at the same time, I'm baby stepping from less sugar to no sugar. And then here we are. Love it. Keep going, Robert. Great job.
Which you can get a big pack at Sam's Club. So now I eat 1 or 2 yogurts a day. They're only 60 calories, no sugar, and I put a scoop of the protein in there. At 6 p.m., I would have my veggie mix with sausage. I also added in a single serving cup of guacamole that I got at Costco. It's organic, it tastes really good, and the single serving works well for me. And you can also freeze them because it comes with a lot of them. Around this time, I stopped eating seed oil, canola oil, palm oil, sunflower oil, basically any kind of oil except for avocado or olive oil, which kind of limits my choices when it comes to chips.
So he takes baby stepping to a whole new level that's way above mine, right? He started baby stepping everything, right? So he went from eating whatever chips he wanted to all of a sudden he's getting certain oils that the chips are cooked in. And again, it obviously is working for him. I'm assuming that as this is happening, he's already losing 5, 10, 15 pounds, right? Because I don't think he woke up one day and was 75 pounds less. These little baby steps equal huge improvements as time goes by. I think he's living proof.
So I switched to Siete chips. All of their chips are cooked in avocado oil, and the tortilla chips are grain-free. So I would eat about a half a portion, which is about 7 or 8 chips with my guacamole every day. At 10 p.m., I eat my final meal. It'll be a sandwich with some chips or crackers. I either eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or a turkey sandwich. For bread, I like Dave's Killer Bread or Ezekiel. If you're getting Dave's Killer Bread, check out the Power Seed. It only has 1 gram of sugar per slice. A lot of the other ones have 3 to 5 grams of sugar per slice. And they also have some oils in them that I don't eat anymore. So the Power Seed's very clean, 1 gram of sugar, no bad oils. So that's the one I always get. When making my peanut butter and jelly, I use the Kirkland organic peanut butter from Costco. It only has 2 ingredients in it, peanuts and salt. If you're looking at other peanut butters on the shelf, just look at the ingredients list. They're going to be pretty long and filled with a whole bunch of stuff you don't want in it. So just look for any peanut butter that just has peanuts and salt in it. My top pick for jelly is Good Good. It doesn't have any sugar in it, and it comes in a lot of flavors, and it tastes great. If I'm making a turkey sandwich, I use Deaton Watson's organic turkey breast from Costco. If you look at the ingredients list, it's just turkey, salt, and vinegar. I'll top the sandwich with different things. Occasionally I'll put cheese. I always put mustard. I either get organic mustard or organic stone ground mustard.
So real quick, if you didn't catch it earlier, one of the things that his nutritionist did, instead of telling him how horrible his diet was and how he can't have this, that, and the other, she made some interesting suggestions. For example, instead of your ham sandwich with a bunch of mayonnaise, which is fattening, why don't we go with whole grain bread, turkey instead of the ham, and then mustard, which has, I guess, 0 calories or no fat. I forget what he said, but mustard apparently is a better option than the mayo. He went with it, decided he liked it, and it was an easy switch. And those are things we can do. Little baby steps, little substitutions. They really make the world go round when it comes to weight loss.
I'll also like to put lettuce or spinach on it, and sometimes I even put a couple chips in it to give it some crunch. For snacks, I like chips and crackers. Some of my favorite crackers are Mary's Gone crackers. My wife doesn't like them, but after eating it a few times, I started to really enjoy them. You can get them at Costco when they have them, but they don't always do, so you can get a smaller box at Sprouts. One of my go-to snacks is any of the Siete chips. If you're at Sprouts, they have a big selection, tons of different flavors. You can even find them in regular supermarkets. Sometimes Costco has a big bag of the tortilla chips. The regular Siete tortilla chips are okay, but if you really want a good tortilla chip, check out the Siete dip chips. They're much better. For dessert, I'll have one piece of dark chocolate, no sugar added. Some other options for some good no sugar added chocolate is Lily's and Hue. When I'm feeling like ice cream, I get prepackaged Yasso ice cream bars. They range in calories from about 150 to 80. My favorite flavors are this caramel one with only 80 calories and this chocolate covered one.
So it looks like instead of 80 calories, it has closer to 100. But guys, I think I've seen these Yasso bars at my local Fry's or your local Kroger. I think they actually sell these in the frozen aisle. Apparently, this diet is something where you can lose 75 pounds, but you don't have to lose who you are. So if you like your ice cream treat at the end of the day, it looks like he enjoys his ice cream at the end of the day too. If you're a fanatic of peanut butter and jelly, he's still eating peanut butter and jelly, and he still gets to enjoy 1 or 2 yogurts a day. It sounds to me like he's really got a great plan, and that's the key to success, having a proactive plan and then sticking to it. And if there's bumps in the road, for example, he went from 1 meal a day to a window, you just adjust and keep moving forward. Never quit.
That's what I ate for 6 months to lose 75 pounds. I'm now less strict with my diet, but I still eat very healthy, but I just eat more calories now. And I'm changing up my diet. So instead of walking every day, I'm adding in 2 days of cardio and 3 days of weightlifting and 1 day of yoga. I like the weight I'm at. I just want to lean out a little bit more and gain some muscle mass. It was kind of scary at first eating more because I thought I was going to gain back the weight, but I've been adding more and more food to my diet and I haven't gained any weight at all. And I'm feeling great. So I hope you subscribe and I hope you like this video and I'll see you next time.
He was truly awesome. Robert, congratulations, brother. 75 pounds in 6 months. Did you notice that once he hit his goal, he's now in a body that's more efficient than it was? So now he's actually able to increase the calories, probably increase a little bit of the junk food that he wants, right? And I'm telling you, when you're a smaller weight, especially a drastically smaller weight, 75 pounds smaller, right? Your body's more efficient. You can eat the occasional candy bar without it freaking out your system. But it sounds to me like even when he has a little cheat food, it's not really cheating. He's making the smartest choice possible. Speaking of a smart choice, why don't you grab your shoes? Let's go for a walk. Happy Sunday. It's absolutely a beautiful day for a walk. It's probably Monday if you're watching this on the first day it comes out. Regardless, regardless of the day that you watch, I hope your day goes splendidly well. Splendidly well. I absolutely love walking. I'm out this morning and it's about 9:15 in the morning. And, once again, it doesn't really matter if you go walking at 6 a.m., 9 a.m., 12, 4 p.m. It doesn't matter. You're almost always the only person out. It's kind of Twilight Zone-y. Have you guys, I'm sure even where you guys walk, you guys are amongst the only few walkers outside. That's why I got a comment. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it said, the problem with walking and the effects of walking can be seen on a ton of fat people. He said some sort of comment like that, in other words, they don't walk at all, or they walk, but it doesn't help. And I told him, I said, look outside your door. Nobody's walking. Everybody tells you till they're blue in the face, oh, I walk all the time, right? But don't you think if that was a true statement, that every time I go outside, instead of seeing 1 or 2 people, don't you think we would see closer to like 15 or 20 or maybe even 50 people out here? Nobody's ever walking. And there's no excuse in a neighborhood like mine. I mean, you got a nice sunny neighborhood. Maybe during the summer you could see people going indoors to escape the heat. But I mean, this is the time of year where Arizonans brag we have the best weather, Every winter, Arizona's like, oh, hey, I can go outside in a t-shirt, The only people that can go outside in the winter without a t-shirt are people in Arizona and then Buffalo Bill fans. God, they don't care if it's 25 below zero. They'll go out with a t-shirt or without a t-shirt. Bills Mafia, you guys are something else. I feel bad for the Bills because, if there was no such team as the Kansas City Chiefs, they probably would have won a Super Bowl or two with their team. Excellent team, just can't quite get it done. Are a lot of you guys sports fans, or probably not that much, huh? All right, let's not talk sports then. Sometimes it's good just to kind of shut out everything and just enjoy the walk. You quickly find out that nature's not too bad. Jesse, we're outside in the front yard. It's not exactly nature. Well, it's nature compared to inside, isn't it? You get to go outside and see trees. It's funny, in Arizona, in Phoenix, if you think about it, you would never see pine trees growing naturally, right? Because they're all up in the higher elevations where, where the weather's cold. But so many people here in Arizona, including myself, we have pine trees. So even when you're outside, you get a tiny little piece of Flagstaff, right? Get to see the pine trees. But these are unlucky pine trees. These are the ones that very rarely get any rain and never see snow. They're summer pine trees. They're tropical. I got a comment from somebody that said over the last couple days they walk like 12,000 and 14,000 steps, and it's like, wow, that's a lot of walking. That is a lot of walking. And I assume that they're not guessing how many steps they had. I assume they have some sort of pedometer on their waist or something, so they're able to tell exactly how many steps they're taking. That's a great number if you guys are able to get that many steps in. Make sure that you don't burn yourself out on walking. But you know what? If you go to a festival or you go to the zoo or you're walking with family, around a sporting event and stuff, a lot of times you can walk really excessively long distances and it's not that big of a deal. I bet you every year that people go to the state fair, they probably walk a couple miles just going to the state fair, Keep in mind though, when you go to events and walk, it's kind of like when you're walking with your dog. If you're stopping at every booth at the event, every 10, 15 feet, you're stopping to take a look at something or what have you, those steps probably aren't as good as just continually walking, But at the same time, if you did do a lot of walking and you did, let's celebrate that. Good job. Definitely a good job. So we are officially at the midway point of this challenge. This goes back to what I was saying about seasons. Every 90 days it's a new season. And sometimes in Arizona, those seasons can seem longer than they really are. For example, in the
part of the summer when it's 115 degrees out here, the 90 to 100 days of summer here in Arizona can feel more like 500 straight days. It's just miserable day after miserable day. But in reality, it's just the snap of your fingers, right? In the blink of an eye, before you know it, 40 some odd days have gone by and you're halfway to your goal. And if you're brand new and this is your first week walking with us, I'm glad that you didn't just wait until after the 90 days to start up with us again, because the truth is, walking is walking. Drinking water is drinking water. Avoiding sugar is avoiding sugar. What better day to start your exercise and diet routine than right now? You know, it's as easy as saying, you know what, I've never walked before, but I feel like I can put my shoes on. I feel like I can open my front door, and I feel like I can step into the world. And if you step into the world, yay, you're going to be able to do it. Again, it's absolutely free. It doesn't cost a thing. And who knows, in the future, you might not be able to walk without paying a tax. You never know with this country, right? So the reality is, take advantage of it while you can. One of the things that I see in grocery stores that kind of bums me out, but I never say anything about it. Every now and then you'll see a young person, like they look like they're in their 20s, and they'll be in the sit-down ride-along cart, which is supposed to be for people that have legitimate disabilities. And a lot of times these people riding in the cart will be overweight. But again, they're in their 20s and they can definitely walk. I mean, definitely walk. I saw them walk to the little vehicle, right? And you know the vehicle I'm talking about at the grocery store where people can sit in it. It's got a little basket, right? Kids look at that and they think, oh, that's fun. But I think it's really unlucky to take those vehicles from people that legit need them, you know? And it's just kind of bad karma, so to speak. Because my thinking is, if you're in your 20s and you can walk, walk. Because there might be a day where you have to use those little vehicles, those little scooters that they provide. And that's going to be a sad day, because once you start using those as an adult, you usually don't stop. Morning. There's my fellow walker. We see him every couple of days, don't we? He's a trooper. He's starting to shrink a little too. That's the one thing that's kind of fascinating about this. GL and Lily, you guys might start noticing this really quick. Once you get to day 60, which I believe both of you guys are, yeah, the weight just starts to really change. If you've been walking with me even for 1 or 2 weeks, you're probably already noticing that your arms are more fluid. And what I mean by that is you're moving your arms really nicely when you walk. You know, if you're listening to your phone in one hand like this, see if you can set your phone some way, somehow, where you don't have to hold it, where you can swing your arms. Because I bet when you swing your arms, it burns even a couple more calories than if you just walk with your arms, you know, static. So, something to think about. Now we have a woman that's coming this way that's a little bit overweight, but she's walking, and I just want to give her a hug and tell her how proud I am, but I won't do that. That's embarrassing for people. But I'm very impressed that she's walking. You'll see her here in a second.
Okay, God bless you.
It's really wonderful when you see people walk. Now, in her case, it might just be her walking to a vehicle that's going to pick her up. I don't know. But if that's a beginning of a walking routine for her, that's awesome. I think it would be wonderful for her. You know, if you have family members that are starting to get into their 50s, their 60s, their 70s, and they're really, really overweight, see if you can talk them. You don't have to talk to them about watching the show, but see if you can talk them into, you know, maybe contemplating the idea of a daily walk, because there's a lot of 40 and 50-year-olds that are overweight. There's not very many 80 and 90-year-olds that are overweight. Well, what's that have to do with anything, Jesse? Well, don't we want to see our relatives live a long time? You know, if you have a real morbidly obese relative, you don't want them dying in their 50s and 60s. You'd like to see them live till their 70s, 80s, and 90s. like the average person in this country lives. And remember, there's something permanent about death. If you're a person of faith like myself, you have that hope that you will see those loved ones again. But let's say there is no God. Let's say there is no afterlife. Because you got to remember, faith is where you believe. You can't necessarily prove it to people, but you can say, hey, this is my belief. I truly believe this in my heart of hearts, right? That one day I will be reunited with my loved ones. But if we're wrong, then what we need to do is at least let our loved ones know how much we care about them in the here and now. And we need to let them know that we love them enough where we'd like to be able to stay with them on this planet for as long as humanly possible, right? And that's important. I look back at all my relatives that have passed away, and I can't help but think, and I do this all the time, this is where I kind of beat myself up, and if you do the same thing, let me know, but I can't tell you how many times I think to myself, God, why didn't I, ask my Uncle David if he wanted to go out to dinner with us a handful more times, Why didn't I take my grandmother out to the Diamondbacks baseball game a handful of times? Because, I know my grandma loved the Diamondbacks baseball team, and instead of going with her to games and doing those things with your grandma in her elderly age, I just kind of did my own thing, If you're in your teens, if you're in your 20s and your grandmother's still alive, I want you to pretend, because I don't want this to actually happen, but I want you to pretend like she doesn't have much time left. Even if she has 30 or 40 years, which God willing, he or she does, take your grandparents out to dinner. Let them know that you'd like to be in their life a little bit more than you've been. Because I'm telling you, we're very close to our grandparents. And as your grandparents get older, they lose all their testosterone and estrogen, and they become these really mellow, mild people. And that's why half the children in America like their grandparents more than their parents. Because your parents are always arguing when you're young, right? God, I think that's one thing in common with almost every couple ever created. When they're in their 20s and 30s, it's like there's an argument every week. When you find couples in their 60s and 70s, grandma and grandpa, God, they don't even argue anymore. They realized years ago there's nothing good that comes out of that. And if your grandparents are still married, emulate them. That's success in today's world. Do you realize that if you're married from a young age and you stay married, right? And don't get me wrong, I know some marriages are designed to fail, but if you stay married, this cruel, hard, expensive world is actually a heck of a lot easier. Because what is marriage? If you think about it, marriage is a partnership. And it's not a partnership where one partner's trying to outdo the other, like business partnerships. It's a legit partnership where you want to see your partner succeed in life because they're attached to you at the hip. And I just think grandparents that have been married for 40 or 50 years, they know something that the rest of us don't. They know how to make things work. They know how to compromise. They know how to meet people in the middle. Some of us, let's be honest, are stubborn as mules, right? Some of us, we can't be wrong. We always have to win a fight, Grandparents go under the premise of, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And they've chose happiness. And it's the benefit of us all that they've chosen happiness, right? Because that's why when you go to their house, they've always got really yummy food, right? Sometimes our parents, when we're in our 20s, they're broke and the cupboards are bare and the fridge has a bottle of ketchup with a green stain on the bottom. I mean, some fridges of 20-year-olds look really pathetic. But when you go to Grandma and Grandpa's house, they've got a pantry stocked. They've got ice cream in the freezer, right? They've got food in the fridge. God, if you ever move out and have to move back in with your parents, see if your grandparents are still alive. That's the house you want to go to. Definitely. Because adults in their 30s and 40s have to recover from the crap they went through in their 20s. So today is my own National Grandparents' Day. Dun 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 dun. I don't think it's really National Grandparents' Day. I'm just saying they're on my mind. Those are the last successful people that we had in this world. Success when it comes to relationships. The average person my age has already been divorced once or twice. You ever meet a person that's been divorced like 4 or 5 times? It's like, golly, don't get married, just date somebody. Just date somebody for a while. Dating's challenging nowadays. Like I said, when I was a little younger, you could still go to a club and meet somebody, and I'm sure you can still do that now, but you know, let's say you meet somebody special and you know that they're doing the online dating. The odds of them, when they meet you, stopping the online dating, very rare, right? Because it's really easy just to pick up an app and look at the people that are interested at you and swipe left or swipe right. And so when we were younger, before the internet and stuff, I don't think it was as easy to just be out there gallivanting and stuff, you know? But nowadays, you don't even have to leave your house and you can go on these little virtual speed dates where you're at least figuring out who you'd be willing to date in person, you know? And so I have a feeling if husbands grab their wives' phone or if wives grab their husbands' phones, I think that there'd be a lot of strife within a couple of hours on this planet, right? Because I think everybody secretly has these little apps on their phone, and let's be honest, occasionally there's married folks that are on those dating apps too, and it's really kind of tacky. I feel like we have a everybody for themselves world that we live in now. And it's too bad. It's too bad. Because the more single we all become, the less we believe in things like teamwork, even though teamwork makes the dream work, right? So again, if you're young, reach out to your grandparents. Because here's another thing, even when your grandparents live into the extended ages, like let's say 85, 90 and beyond, at that point, a lot of times they're barely able to move. When they eat, they barely eat anything. They eat like a little bird, you know, because they're basically fulfilling the circle of life. They're going, you know, right back to the childlike stages that they started with, right? I always think that's funny, but it's really true. Elderly people, when they get excessively old, it's like they become giant babies again. You know, you got to start taking care of them. Sometimes they have to go into places like hospice to finish out their last couple days, or they might have to go into a nursing home. And so your grandma and grandpa that seem totally okay and healthy now, you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. So, you know, if you're home alone on a weekend, pick up your phone, ask your grandma if she wants to go to a movie. And if she says no, don't just leave it at that. Say, well, I'm going to pick you up, and if you don't want to go to a movie, we're going to go to lunch. We're going to go do something. And if she says, I already have plans, okay, you already have plans. What about next weekend? I want to pick you up. I want to take you to breakfast, a movie, lunch, take you out shopping, Grandma. Take your grandma out. My grandma lived to be 98 and a half years old. And to this day, I still don't know why the last 10 or 15 years of her life, I didn't think to take her to a baseball game. So I have a lot of those little guilty feelings about a lot of my friends and family members. It's just because when I was in my 20s, like some people that are watching this video might be, and in my 30s, I had so few friends and family members that had passed. I mean, I had a couple of great grandparents, you know. And if you'd have told me that, hey, in just 20 short years, almost everyone you know will have passed away, I would have been like, that's ridiculous, get real. But it's really true. I've had like half a dozen young friends pass away, you know, my age or even a couple years younger, or a couple years older too, but we're talking young people that have passed away. And now we live in this scary world where you got like tranq and fentanyl, and these, it seems like they're coming up with some new horrible drug every couple years, and people are just dropping like flies when they sniff these drugs. And sometimes you got kids that are thinking they're ordering a pill that's going to give them a little bit of a buzz, and all of a sudden it's laced with fentanyl and they're dropping dead. So if you're a grandma or grandpa, You know, it doesn't just go one way. Call your grandkids, tell them you want to take them out to lunch. Say, hey, I know Grandma never goes to movies, but you want to go see a Marvel movie? Let's go. You know? Grandma, when we go, can we get a soda? No! 2/3 of America is fat. I'm not going to tell you again. I used to love movies. I say used to because if movies came out regularly like they used to, I would still love it. Because I don't consider a bunch of Marvel movies a good selection. Is anybody else tired of Marvel movie number 500? I mean, even if you like DC and Marvel Universe, God, I don't want every movie to be with Spider-Man or, you know, Ant-Man or this, that, and the other man. It's like, God, Wonder Woman, that stuff is for the birds after a while. That's why I got disillusioned with Star Wars too. I grew up where we had Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, just like you guys. Now they're on what, Star Wars number 30? It's like after a while, I don't necessarily want to learn about the everyday happenings of this world being Star Wars, you know? I don't need to know about every single chapter in this soap opera of Marvel. I mean, after a while, it's like a soap opera, you know? I like things with a beginning and end. You know what I would like to see? And what I wonder? Why didn't they ever make a sequel to The Goonies? The Goonies is probably the best kid movie of all time, right? Sloth, Love, Chunk, they had all those kids. They could have easily had them grow up to be adults and then have their kids go on a similar type of adventure, or they could just redo it. But for some reason they won't, and it's like if there's a movie that I'd like to see a sequel to The Goonies. The Goonies was such a great movie, totally. Same with Back to the Future. Quit teasing us. Give us a Back to the Future before Michael J. Fox kicks the bucket. Because that's what's going to happen. He's going to kick the bucket, right? And then they're going to bring him back to part 4 with artificial intelligence. That's what's going to happen. You already know it. Because I don't think Michael J. Fox, I don't think he's going to live forever. You know, knock on wood, Michael J. Fox, I want you to live forever, but from what I understand with your disease, it doesn't get any easier as time goes on, you know? I saw an article, well, I'm fibbing. I didn't see and read an article. I saw a YouTube video about how Michael J. Fox, when he was first diagnosed with his Parkinson's, or when he first shared it with the world, I don't know if you guys heard this, but apparently he kind of became an alcoholic. And that was how he kind of dealt with the pain. And if you think about poor Michael J. Fox, he went from a teen heartthrob with the world on his shoulders, right? To all of a sudden, you know, he's having a hard time standing and having a hard time, you know, completing a sentence and stuff. And that's got to be the hardest thing for a person. Because let's be honest, he had a run there in the 80s and 90s where he was just a really super popular actor. And I always thought he was a pretty good actor too. He did this movie called Doc Hollywood where he went to a small town and was the doctor and they treated him like a king. I thought that was a good movie too. He also did a movie called The Secret of My Success where he had to kind of go and become like a business legend. And I thought that was kind of a good movie too. I think he did a couple of military movies too, like Full Metal Jacket or Platoon, one of those. But either way, I think we can all agree he was a super talent, and he's still a super talent, right? Because he's still alive, but he's going through some hurdles in life. So imagine you're in your 20s, you look at Michael J. Fox and you say, wow, I wish I could trade shoes with that guy, right? And that's why I think that we should never think like that. And I've thought like that too, like, oh my God, I'd love to live that guy's life, right? But the reality is, you don't always know what they're dealing with in the background. And let's be honest, I would rather be poor and in a bad situation. I'd rather be in a poor, bad situation than in Michael J. Fox's shoes, you know? And knock on wood that none of us ever have to go down that route or that path. But If you're dealing with any physical ailments or disease or maladies, it's kind of interesting, but I bet somewhere along your life, one of your friends, or maybe even one of your frenemies, probably looked at you and thought, oh my God, I bet their life is cushy. I bet their life is easy. I wish I could walk a mile in their shoes, right? They have no idea what you're dealing with. I, on the other hand, I have empathy. I don't need to know what you're going through to know that it's a challenge. Because deep down, every one of these people has challenges. I might talk poop about them saying, hey, how come none of them are out walking? But you want to know something? There's probably 10% of people in this neighborhood that would love to walk, but they physically can't. Some of us watching this video, you might be doing mental walks with me. Something is holding you back from walking. And it might not be physical at all. It might be mental. I mean, we literally have little battles that we fight against ourselves. Some of us have crippling laziness. And I know that sounds goofy, right? Because we choose whether to be lazy or not, but some people have like chronic fatigue syndrome. Some people have very little motivation. Sometimes you feel like crap about yourself and you just don't want to go out and face the world. But you want to know something? When you feel the worst about yourself, that's when you need to get your shoes on and go outside, because what you'll notice, especially with this group, a lot of people are starting to talk about how they love their everyday walk. They didn't necessarily feel like that a month ago. Your walk is a time for you to really go out and feed your mind. When you walk, you can't help but think of solutions to your problems. So if you say, God, I'd love to walk, but I have so much going on right now. I have so many things on my mind. God, that's not the time to deny yourself a walk. Guys, that's the time to go out and walk. That's what walking's all about. Can you think on something? Can you focus? Jesse, I like watching TikTok because I only have a 12-second attention span. I've got ADHD. You want to know something, Bob? Everybody says they have ADHD. Yeah, but my doctor agrees. Your doctor agrees because every doctor agrees nowadays. You know what I think you have, Bob? I think you have too much going on. I think you need to disconnect. I think you need to go on a walk. And I think you'll soon find that the ADHD probably never existed. Well, Jesse, some people do have it. Some people do, Bob, but not you. Get your shoes on. Go for a walk, start thinking about your bills and how you could probably attack them better, and whatever money you can shave off your bills, throw it in your savings account, save up a couple $1,000s, and change your life, okay? We got to get out of this excuse situation, guys, because the older we get, the bigger and more powerful the excuses are going to be. Let's get the excuses out of the way now. Let's grab our shoes, let's get outside, let's walk. You know, I don't know if you guys agree or not, but usually in a 20 or 30-minute walk, you're able to walk about 1 mile to 1.5 miles. And if you're walking real briskly, you might even be able to squeeze 2 miles in there in a half an hour. So if you've been walking with me since day one, and we're now on day, 43 or something like that, what you're going to quickly find, if you do the math, is that you've already walked 60 miles with me. That's amazing. Now picture that on a straight line path, right? You know, I live in Phoenix, 60 miles that way, I probably walked further than Mesa or Tempe. Now if you did that in one day, if somebody said, hey, you have to walk from Phoenix to Mesa, nobody would really look forward to that other than 10K runners, right? But the reality is, you and I are slowly but surely, through our baby steps, we're doing that. And damn it, that's impressive. That is impressive, guys. And some of you are walking 3 or 4 miles a day. You know, one way that you can do that many steps that I'm really not thinking of, because a lot of times I envision you guys doing it in one, outing. But the reality is, if you're doing a half-hour walk in the morning, half-hour walk in the evening, and maybe a little half-hour walk midday or something, you could probably easily chew up 5,000 to 10,000 steps in a day. So maybe I was wrong on that. Maybe you should just make it a goal to walk as much as you can, and by doing so, you'll notice that pretty soon you start clicking off a lot of miles. And if you end up staying with me through day 90 and beyond, well, guess what? At some point, we're gonna pass triple digits. We're gonna get to the point where we've got 100 miles behind us. And I find that fascinating, you know? If every year we're able to go through 4,000 miles, that's huge. 400 miles, excuse me, right? We go 100 miles every 3 months. There's 4 3-month periods in the year. So 4 times 300 miles, 1,200 miles. Not bad. Or excuse me, 4 times 100, 400 miles. You guys are like, God, that math looks incredible when Jesse does it. Sorry, still half asleep. I'm seeing 2 people here walking with a couple of dogs. Again, it's always nice when you have a dog and they take you for a walk. There's no excuses on the weekends. Get outside, go for a walk. Good morning. The lady back there was picking weeds in her garden and she looked really super healthy, you know, size-wise. But she's smoking a cigarette. If any of you guys are smoking cigarettes, you know deep down there's not too many 90-year-olds that are smoking cigarettes, but there's plenty of 30 and 40-year-olds that are. You know, eventually one day your doctor's gonna tell you, you gotta quit. Wouldn't it be great to kind of pretend like he already told you that and just start stopping now? Because from what I understand, once they find the carcinogenic cells, right, the cancer cells in you, you know, what's the point of quitting then, right? They already found them, right? So what you want to do is you want to quit before you find stuff like that. And I know it's easier said than done, but I'm just a real big believer in the weaning process, you know? You're up to a pack and a half a day. Well, that seems like a good goal to cut it down to 1 pack a day, right? And then once you're at 1 pack a day, maybe we can, with a little willpower, maybe squeeze it into a pack every other day. And I've heard of people doing this to the point where they just squeeze it down to little or none, and then one day they just take their pack of cigarettes and throw them away. I guarantee you there's people on here that might not smoke anymore, but they might have used to. And they probably had a day in their 20s or 30s where they just said, you know what, I'm tired of my breath smelling like cigarettes. I'm tired of, you know, having to take Banaka and brush my teeth before I kiss my significant other. I'm just gonna quit smoking. And, you know, if you're contemplating stopping, wean yourself off. I think everybody and their brother knows that it's not easy, right? It's challenging, you know? Almost as challenging as seeing a UFO in the background, you know? It's just, you're not just gonna see that by happenstance. Unless you're watching Walk Talk Vent, then you might see a couple UFOs in the background, right? But just know that if you have the power to quit smoking, and if I help you quit smoking, God, make sure you tell me in the comments. That would be a wonderful feeling to know that I help people get off of some of their habits that they have. It's funny, back in the day, they used to say that cigarettes were like performance enhancing, right? Like they'd have doctors on commercials say, hey, the top athletes in the world smoke Cools, you know? Pretty amazing stuff. And hey, I think Stacy's walking up here. You guys remember Stacy? I think Stacy's walking up here. Let's see if we can talk to her. Is that you, Stace?
Sure is. How are you, Jesse?
I'm good. Stacy, say hello to all your fans. How you been? I like your hat. She's got the cancer fighter's hat. What do you want to tell everybody that's contemplating walking?
Do it now before it gets too hot, or you won't keep doing it. And walk early in the morning. It's the best time. This is kind of warm for me.
It's so worth it, isn't it?
It really is. Feel great every day.
Every day. I agree with Stacy that I should have woken up an hour and a half earlier and got out the door. It's already feeling a little hot. Stacy,
Yep.
Thank you so much, my dear.
Sure.
You have a happy day, okay?
Get started.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Yay, we got to see Stacy again. Did you guys notice her hat there, the Fight Cancer? That's awesome. You know what? Every time she's walking, she's going to battle. She's going to battle. She's a survivor, you know? And to be honest with you, I look at her and I don't really think, oh my God, that woman used to be really overweight and obese and had cancer. I just look at her and think, hey, she's probably healthier than everybody else because she's out here walking. And right there, if that doesn't motivate you, I don't know what does. She's walking and it's literally helped extend her life. And wouldn't it be sad if somebody like Stacy was no longer on the planet, you know? Those things are sad. But because she is on the planet, it's a happy day. Yay, we got to see Stacy. So that was a really fun moment. And you know why that happened? Because I took you on a little extra credit. What do you mean, Jesse? Well, I don't know if you noticed, but I was really close to my end point there, and I just decided to make a left turn and keep going. So here's my $64,000 question to you guys. Are you doing that too? When you get home, do you always just say, okay, that's the end of my walk, felt good, I'm ready to tackle the day? Or do you occasionally look down at your wristwatch and say, dang it, I'm gonna go for another 20 minutes, I'm not done just yet? Because if you are, you know what you're doing? You're starting to do things that are synonymous with middle and small-sized people. Remember, it's the big, heavy people that eat the cake instead of the orange, right? It's the big, heavy people that say, oh, I'm done. It's the medium and small people that say, hey, I think I could do one more lap. It ain't gonna kill me, right? Hey, I think instead of that cake and that coffee, I think I'm gonna have just this orange here and this glass of water. I'm good, right? Hey, for lunch, what do you wanna have? You wanna have a beef stew and a loaf of bread and butter and, you know, a couple of colas? No, I think I'm just gonna have a little salad, right? With a couple pieces of chicken in it, right? So that's the difference, if you think about it, guys, between your overweight friends and your friends that are medium or small. People that are medium and small actually choose the right choice every once in a while. People that are medium big, they usually choose the bad choice. So when you're going from a small person like I was at 160 and all of a sudden you find yourself at 185, you're not a legit 185, you're a legit 160 that let themselves go, okay? That's why I wanted to take you guys on this journey with me, because you see me at 185 and I'm pudgy, but it's not like I'm 185 and someday I'm gonna wake up and be 220. No, I'm a 160 guy and I woke up and found myself at 185. I am the perfect person to show you how to bring yourself back to normal. And remember, if we help you lose 30 pounds in 90 days, at that point, that's where the fat really just starts burning off of our bodies. And what'll happen is, let's say you're 220, the 30-pound loss takes you down to 190, but we're not gonna stop, right? We're gonna keep on going. The next set of 30 days, I don't know how much you'll lose. You might only lose 5 or 10 pounds during that time. I don't know. But let's challenge that. Let's keep it going, you know? I think you will reach a point where you don't get any smaller, but you're going to shrink considerably until then, trust me. And also, some of us on this channel have already had quite a bit of weight loss and quite a bit of success. I consider it a success if your clothes fit loosely, you know? Because when your clothes fit loosely, you start to feel good about yourself, because what that means is you're probably developing some leg muscles, and you're probably developing more, I want to say constitution, but more ability to walk further and further, right? When you first started, you could probably only walk for 20 or 30 minutes before you were done with it. Well, nothing's stopping you from walking for 45 minutes or an hour now, right? Are you a better walker today than you were a month and a half ago? I would love it if everybody said, heck yeah, I'm walking twice as fast as I was then. And not because anyone told me to walk faster, Jesse. I'm walking twice as fast because I love my walk. I just walk and I just happen to move faster than I used to. The way you used to walk on that first walk, it's kind of indicative of how unhealthy you were. You know, once you start walking an hour a day, it's really hard to understand when people said, God, I took a 15-minute walk and I'm exhausted. It's really difficult for people that walk an hour a day to kind of understand where you're coming from, because they haven't had that feeling in a long time. And you can get rid of that feeling in a week. Just start walking. Start walking with the 10 or 15-minute walk, and then double that to 2 10 or 15-minute walks. And then before you know it, you're walking a half hour a day. And if you have to ever go back and watch a video to hypnotize yourself again, go back and watch another video. One of the best videos you could watch is the one from Everybody Walks. When you watch that video, a lot of times it motivates you, because you start saying, holy moly, if I walk, I'm literally in the better half of healthy people. That's important. You don't want to be on the half of unhealthy people, you know? So start walking. It has an immediate effect on your attitude. Sometimes I get down when I'm just sitting in the house and stuff. And don't get me wrong, I can go to the gym, I can visit family members and friends, just like anybody else. But no matter what, you still have to come home to yourself at some point in time, right? And when you come home, it's real easy to, you know, attack the bag of cookies. It's real easy to grab yourself an ice cold Coke, you know? But when you're walking, you can kind of get that moment of clarity, and you can say, hey, I know there's a 6-pack of Coke at my house, but this walk makes me crave water, you know? Some people don't like the taste of water, right? But when you're really hot and sweaty, God, does anything taste better than a nice cold glass of water? Not to me. If I'm hot and sweaty and you hand me a Coca-Cola, God, that does not satisfy at all. You're drinking the whole Coke and you're just like, now my mouth is gooped with sugar, right? And some people are like, yeah, I love that Coca-Cola, and I don't blame you. But again, if you were playing a basketball game or a football game or some sort of sport, and somebody handed you a Coke, you would look at them like, what the heck are you doing? Get me some Gatorade, get me some water. And by the way, that wouldn't be a bad step down now, would it? If you went from Coca-Cola to Gatorade. You know what sports teams do is they take that Gatorade and they do a mixture, half Gatorade, half water. God, that would be a great step down for you. Go from soda to Kool-Aid to Gatorade to half water, half Gatorade to water. Remember, after your 90 days, if you've lost 20, 30, 40 pounds, you can always reintroduce Gatorade. Heck, you could reintroduce all the foods you want. I think your body will be able to tackle it better because you're more efficient. But you still got to go through that 90 days to show yourself that you can do it, if nothing else. And I know you can do it because I believe in you. And I'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.